at Fargo's.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so, anyway, I've twisted Steve's arm behind his back and asked him to become a voting member of this
good,
committee. So
good.
he has filled out the application.
Okay.
And I'll drop that off to Justin so we can vote on it. And then I also asked Steve if he would be the minder of the spreadsheet, just because
Hard to say no to this lady. She works so hard to do.
The reason I didn't want to be the keeper of the spreadsheet is I just wanted separation of
I don't
duties,
blame you.
you know, and I think
Not blame.
that that is the right way to do it. And I talked to Justin last week about it, and Justin has gone through the spreadsheet and is gonna finish. You know, he went through it with the accountant and everything. I mean, from everything he said, it was just pennies. It's nothing that the numbers are all there. And he's going to put all, and I think that, you know, if Steve goes in and sits down with him and goes over, you know, the spreadsheet, we'll be good with that. And also, having him as a voting member, then we'll be able to carry on, because we were down to 5 people.
Yeah.
So my other bright idea with that I thought I'd run by everybody. Oh, there we go. There's Wade. Hey, Wade, that must be you. If you're on, you're muted. Is that you, Wade? Is for the 7th member to come back to 7 members. My idea for that, and it was because of something that happened during Mayfair. Jake Harmon, if we know who Jake Harmon is,
don't
he
know.
is a teenage boy.
Oh, okay.
Whose parents are the doctors that live,
Kelly and Nate.
Kelly and Nate Harmon.
Yeah.
So, he came up and started asking me all kinds of questions, and he was at the Bell Tower, event.
Hello.
And he was so excited about that. Hi, is that you, Wade?
Sorry. Yeah,
Oh.
sorry about that. I was muted on, and in a way,
Yeah.
I've never had to hit *6 before. I figured it out,
Oh.
though.
That's all right. Zoom presents a new thing every time.
Every time. I was
use it.
just thinking about that, too. I was like, man, 5 years ago, I used to have a problem with Zoom every time. Now it's smooth sailing, and sure enough, it bit me. So,
Yeah. Oh,
there you
yeah.
go.
Well, it was a little, you know, it was different for me to start the meeting than it was a month ago.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
we were just chatting, taking up time because we're waiting for another member so we can vote on things, but, I'll finish filling them in on that. So, I'll let you take off on whatever you have for excitement, for us while you're on.
You're right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can do that. I don't think there's too much excitement. I think everybody's pretty much up to speed. But Dave's been working with Jacob down there on the ridge vent issue, and I think they finished that up towards the end of last week. And now he's moving on. I believe he's working on the windows or the great room ceiling next. Those are really the 2 big hurdles that we've got left in front of us to address. And I didn't have a chance to touch base with him today to see which one he was moving on to, but it was one of the 2, as I understand it.
And I saw that the railings are on.
Oh, fantastic. I knew that he had planned on doing that. I thought he did it last week, but I didn't.
Yeah,
Great.
well, I didn't pay attention last week when I was up here, when I came up on Wednesday, so I really didn't look at the building. I guess I was myopic, but anyway. So now the
Well,
railings
I'm
are
glad.
on there.
I'm glad
And
that
I
they
saw
fit
that
better than they did the
the,
first time.
Tree damage was taken care of, and that's fixed out back, that fascia on where the tree hit the roof, so he must have completed that too.
must have been using the man lift for that. I think he was
Yeah.
trying to get everything done with the man lift.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
Good.
Um,
I'm glad to hear it.
so what does so he's either gonna be working inside on the ceiling in the main room, you said, or?
In the great room or the main room or the windows. The
Okay.
windows have an issue that we talked about that
Yeah,
needs to be
exactly.
rectified, and we're not going to leave something behind that's not done correctly. So we're going to address that, and that's on us. And I'm not really entirely sure about the great room ceiling, how that's all transpired, but I've got some information from him on it, and whatever the case may be, we're going to do what's right there and make sure that that's the case, that the ceiling is appropriately supported, and that's going to involve some work, some staging, and some temporary support to lift that ceiling back up into place and fasten it completely, safely, adequately, so on and so forth. Some of the screws that were added weren't actually biting into as much structure as once thought, so we just need to get some longer screws, and we've got those here. Dave ordered or found those actually in our warehouse last week, and so he's going to use some longer screws and some 2x4s from below to help support the ceiling while he used longer fasteners to suck it back up into place where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Are they gonna do the entire ceiling, reinforce the entire ceiling?
That's my understanding.
Yeah. Steve Brown
is that what you guys thought, or no?
I wasn't sure whether they were doing just that sagging section or whether they were doing all of it. And Steve Brown's not here, so I figured he
know
would have
the
been
sag
around
at a
to.
minimum. The sag at a minimum. But if the rest of the ceiling's not sagging, then he may not. That would not be as big of a deal to adequately, to add fasteners to. It's the sagged area that, there was fasteners added, but the length of the fasteners was insufficient to bite into any structure above, and so therefore it's not really doing anything. So
Yeah.
he needs, that's the point of the longer fasteners. But if we want to add some to the non-sagging ceiling, that seems like that would be a lot less work than what needs to happen with the sag portion.
It would be a good idea, would it not? Because if something happens
I
a
think
year or
so.
two from now,
Yeah.
then the cost would be really
Right.
expensive.
Yeah.
And if we're right there with staging anyway, it seems like that
Right.
would be, the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I spoke to Dave
So I would be in favor of doing it.
at the bell raising. Dave and Steve and I walked inside for 5 or 10 minutes and we talked about it. I believe the understanding is to fix where the sag is and not touch the rest of the ceiling. But to me, it makes sense if we have the staging there already to just maybe fasten the stuff that's already underneath
Yeah.
those other joists just to future-proof it.
It'd be a
Right.
responsible
I can
thing
talk
to
to Dave
do.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
That's
great,
right. There's
Wade, if you
There's
talk to
another
him
time
and
to do
add that
that. So
on.
I
Okay.
can do that.
All right. And I think the only other thing that I wanted to try to work on with you, Wade, like I had mentioned, is try to, at some point, with Andrew and come up with numbers that we can have for completion of the entire project, so we'd have a good number to work with when we start and Steve starts putting together the proposal for the historic preservation bond. Yeah, so.
Yeah, okay, the bond, yep.
Yeah, so we'll have some
I
good
certainly
numbers
can help
to
with that,
work
yeah.
with. Because the last ones we had were probably from January of 23, I believe. Maybe,
Just
no,
guessing
20,
that those probably they
24,
aren't
sorry,
good anymore.
24.
Oh,
Yeah,
24 that might be. I mean, 24 might
24,
be, but
yes.
we can
I
certainly
have to
update
stop
those.
and think
Yep.
about my years here. Yeah, just to come up with some numbers that will have something good to base on our ask. So,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Yeah. Do you have anything, Andrew,
happy to
that you
help.
want to add?
On the front of the historic preservation for the windows, we were able to talk to the Marvin rep, Matt, who says we Paul's gonna write some sort of letter of recommendation addressing the Historic Preservation Board. To my knowledge, he hasn't done that yet. He was in Paris until from like a week and a half ago until Tuesday. So last Wednesday. He was in Thursday, Friday, catching up on stuff. But the windows we cannot do, we can't just add mullions if we need to. They would have to replace the whole sash. So he's going to get a quote for us just in case. That if we think that we'll be unable to get the historic designation, and we put, say, I'm just going to throw a number out here, like $5,000 to put those sashes on, that will have the correct. So basically, we have those 4 photos of the windows years past, and the 1856 one has the windows that we have, but it has like a 16 divided light on the top and a 12 on the bottom or something. 4 rows. So we don't have that exact number. Obviously, we still have the divided lights, but I think we have 9/9 or 6/6. We went with. So if they want the exact numbers, we could be faced with the option of, say, we throw some money up front and get the sashes replaced with the correct numbers, then expect, approval on the historic preservation side, and then get that money back through the grant side, kind of thing. Would be kind of a gamble to play potentially. But we'll start with the letter, see what they say, and in tandem, Matt is going to get us a quote for the sashes, so we'll have that in our back pocket if we need to do that. And that's what I got for that.
Well, the good thing on the historic preservation bond is that it passed both House and Senate as amended for a building on that is in the comprehensive plan of the town as a historic building. It doesn't have to be approved as a
National Register.
on the National Register.
Okay.
So that's the good part of it.
Grills?
Yeah, exactly. So like we both said, go ahead, Wayne.
Are the grills on the inside of 2 panes of glass, or are the outside of the window where they're accessible?
I believe, and I don't know off the top of my head, one of you could check on the way out there, that they're applied, so they're on the outside. There's 2 styles of mullions that we do now, because obviously we have the technology to have larger panes of glass. So there's either simulated mullions or there's applied mullions. The simulated lights are in between the panes, and the applied are kind of more historic, where they're physically outside, so you have the profile of those mulls. I think we did applied mullions, so they're all on the outside. I could be wrong about that. I'm trying to think.
In the past, we've had luck on one or more occasions having a mill worker make new mullions, new grills, whatever you're going to call them, for us, and applying them in the field. If it was a window that did not have them, or we needed to modify them. So that might be an option as well, unless that was already vetted and not an option. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think that would run into any warranty voids if we were to alter the product? Or is it not?
It's hard to say. I mean, we might be able to work something out with Marvin on it. It's not, if we're not really getting into the glass, I can't imagine that they would be that, much of a stickler about it. But, we could probably work a deal out with them.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we don't have to go that route, since we don't have to be on the historic register to run, to apply for this money. Now that it has been, the bill passed as amended. So that's the good news. Because as we've always said, we'd rather not be on the historic register, so we aren't running into all the, weirdness about correctness and money that goes with that correctness on the historic register. So.
But Andrew, I think it would be nice to send the letter anyways, just as a gracious act, because that's the committee that's going to decide if we get the grant.
Yeah.
So if we act like we're really trying to, we're happy with, with trying to work with them, that might help us get the grant.
Yeah.
I'll check in with him tomorrow on that. I know he's been catching up from almost 2 weeks out the past couple of days. So
yeah. Well, I'm sure they have ruffled feathers after what happened. So.
Yeah, I'm sure that, that group is not happy with us, since we put a bill in to, about the
bypass
wording,
them, yes.
exactly, to bypass them, because it was not glaringly apparent that that was needed. I mean, it wasn't apparent at all on anything that was written about the bill before, during, or after, so.
That's right. But play nice now and see
Yeah,
what happens.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we need to go over for, information coming up? Wade or Andrew, is there any other things?
That was the only new thing
No.
on our front that I was gonna add, and then I was gonna ask about the railings out front, but it sounds like they're up, so.
Yeah, yep, they're on there. I can snap a picture
Yeah.
and send it to you, Andrew, when I walk over there.
Let me see. I might have a picture. I might have a picture in Dave's report here. I can check that as well.
Oh, speaking of those reports, normally, I know that you had changed they weren't Rankin reports, they were something else that was sent there a
Oh,
couple of
cool.
times, but yeah, I haven't been getting those. Can you ask that, I get those, just because we kind of
Yeah, yeah,
grab those
certainly.
pictures to use on our,
Yep.
our
When
little
was the last time you
website?
saw one?
Oh, it was a while ago when the bell
Sure,
tower
I'll send
was
you,
still
I'll
up
send you
in
them
Brewer.
back like a month,
Yeah,
starting a month ago, you
probably.
think? Is that about right? Okay,
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's probably would be good. Cause I
Sure, no
hadn't
problem.
seen those for a while. So yeah, that would be good.
yeah, and I'll make sure you're on all the new ones going forward as well. Is there anybody else that should be on them, Chris?
Does anybody else want those reports? No. I mean, I get them and then usually I share the pictures because I say, don't get rid of them. I keep the pictures. So, do you need them, Andrew, or anything? Are you
I
getting those?
believe if they're uploading to Procore, I can access them whenever. I don't need them individually.
Okay. Cause I don't know that I have a link to that. I think I might have gotten a link, but I don't think I was
It's
thinking about
entirely
it, so.
possible that, because we just kind of made the switch here recently, so it's entirely possible that you didn't get the link. I apologize for that if that's the case.
Let me just check. I'm on it right now. So if I go to
On the 21st, I have a picture of some railings.
photos, yeah, here we go. So I'm in photos. The last photo I see uploaded is May 30th, 2025 on Procore. So
It
It's
looks
not-
like the 21st, the railings might have been installed.
documents, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I just sent you a picture, Chris, just to see if that's what you were looking for. I'll get the reports to you too. That'll just take me a little bit to get them downloaded and emailed over. There's probably an easier way to do it. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should see that picture in a minute.
Wait, I've got a submittal in here for the bell tower structural, the gussets that we discussed on site, or I might have even discussed them with
Yep.
Nate on site. We could just close that out, or do you need me to respond to that?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, great.
It's
Those railings.
obviously in place. There's no changing it now. But Nate and I discussed it on site, so I never answered the submittal.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, those railings look nice because they're just very basic and not over the top. They're
Yeah.
very streamlined, so
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. That's
Is it
great.
mainly the photos you're interested in, Chris? Is
I
that what
think,
you're looking
yeah,
for?
just mainly the photos that, I know with Rankin, they're really, it just always had a bunch of photos attached, and we used to grab those photos
Yeah.
and put them on our website for the restoration project so people could see
Just
the
trying to figure out the
progress.
fastest way to
So-
get these to you. Yeah, yeah. If I don't have to download and send each report individually, I can probably get you the photos easier. That's all. I'm just trying to make my life easy. I'm
Yeah,
selfish
whatever's
like that.
easiest for you. I don't need anything, that, Andrew sees to approve, so I don't need any of that stuff, because
Yeah.
that's not important,
Okay.
so. So,
All right.
um,
I will have these over to you in just a moment.
that sounds great. Thank you for that, so, um,
No problem.
but I think that's pretty much everything. We
What-
have,
Well, what about the insulation? What's the story?
I
on that?
haven't heard that he has gotten an estimate for the insulation. I was gonna follow up with Steve Brown to find out if he had talked to Brandon again after he originally went in and took measurements. And then I think he had contacted Nate before Nate left about, specifications of that insulation. But
Hmm.
when I talked
I
with
don't know anything
Wade
about it.
about
I can look into it.
yeah, I know that you and I had talked a little bit about the insulation, and even if we have a little bit of money left or something, he can still go in there after the fact, right?
Yeah.
And do the insulation, so.
But we do want to
Yeah,
make
no,
sure
that's
that
not an issue.
there's no moisture buildup against the bricks.
Yes, exactly, and I'd like
Because
to
you're
have,
worried about heating the building without insulation and having a dew point on the inside of the brick.
Well, there's supposed to be an airspace, I think, between the insulation and the brick.
no, I think one of those things that Nate had talked about it with Steve is the fact that there can be that spray foam insulation and
that
the
can be
brick
applied
would
directly to
breathe
the
from
brick.
the outside. The brick would breathe
That
on
can
the
be done.
outside, but not on the inside. Correct? Isn't that the
Yep,
conversation
yep.
we had about the
That's-
spray foam, Andrew? Right?
I don't know about the gap ever being for breathing for brick, and Andrew probably knows way more about it than I do. I always understood that there would be an air gap behind brick for water to drain out that made it through the brick. You want to have that drain down to the bottom and come out the weeps at the bottom of the brick wall. But I'm not sure I've ever heard of it breathing necessarily, but Andrew can correct me on that, I'm sure. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. It's both. Both of those things are true. Having the gap behind and having positive airflow and stuff helps with water mitigation, water drainage, and drying out.
Gotcha.
But you don't want anything accruing there. The biggest issue is you don't want condensate to, accrue on either the inside face of the brick, or if you were to put up like a plastic wrap or some sort of water vapor barrier on the inside of your wall, you don't want anything to accrue on.
Trapped in there.
You got potential for it to freeze and expand and create issues in your wall system. So yeah, it does both things. The air gap is definitely recommended.
Even if spray foam, you would prefer to see an air gap and then some sort of bad insulation versus spray foam directly applied?
In this, well, I don't want to eat my foot here on it or anything, but with a historic building like this, we would rather have the bad.
Oh,
The spray foam does have its benefits, but you have to be really sure that you're sealing everything. And there's a lot of opportunity for failure or breach, with these old systems. Like, we're not building new, so the ease of sealing that envelope, if you will, there's likely to be more issues with that.
gotcha. Yep. Okay.
So that's a to be continued about what we really want for insulation then, huh, Andrew?
Yeah, well,
I'll talk to Nate and see what he had done for legwork on this too. He may have already done something that I'm unaware of.
where we had talked about doing spray foam, which I think would be okay, given the roof vent situation, or sorry, yeah, the roof vent situation, was we had talked about spray foaming the gap at the top of the wall where the brick ends, and then the rafters for the roof start. There's like a 2 to 3 inch gap where you can just see outside. It's just complete exposure to the outside, and currently that's for airflow, you know, coming up under there and letting the attic breathe and getting airflow through there. But we had talked, or when we weren't sure if there was an air vent, a ridge vent on the roof, we had talked about sealing the attic, and so spray foaming all those gaps under the eaves, and sealing that whole thing, and then doing gable end vents on the ends of the building, and then having another vent in the bell tower, built into the bell tower, so that you can still have airflow up there without it coming through the eaves. But since we had the ridge vent installed, and I think that's been fixed now, I think the roofers like roofed over it or something, but we went back up there and fixed that.
They did, yeah. Yeah, we did. We cut that in. You'll see in the photos that we cut that in over the last week or so. He's working away at that. So yeah, the ridge vent's now functional.
Yeah, so the eave and the ridge vent is perfectly fine. That's pretty standard building practice, so we wouldn't have to spray foam those in.
Yeah, I know that Nate had done quite a bit of talking about insulation at one point and worked on that quite a bit. So he probably has some more information somewhere on that. Yeah,
The
He
insulator,
does, and I still talk with him fairly regularly, so.
great.
yeah, and the insulator did suggest spray foaming around the windows to create a seal around the windows.
Yeah,
And to fill in gaps, but I'd still like in that, I think it's the third window, if you're in the back area, not the assembly room, and you're looking at the back wall, there's
yeah,
4 windows that go across. The third window has this gap above it where there used to be probably a structural lintel or something that either isn't there or there's something, but either way, there's a hole in the brick. So he was talking about spray foaming that flush with the brick, and then we would still, you know, bat around it, I believe is where the spray foam was coming in. Which is
Okay.
fine, seal around those windows.
yeah.
I'll ask him about that.
All right. Anything else exciting? That's about it?
Yeah, I'm
Nope.
good on that.
Okay,
That's about
all
it.
right, all right, well, good, so thanks for that update, and, you know, I'll send you the date of our next meeting, so you'll have that, and we'll be able to, you know, work through, hopefully, you know, come up with some numbers as we're winding down at the end of this pool of money, so, for the next pool of money, hopefully, so.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks a lot, Wade. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
And
of
thank
course.
you,
Yeah, no,
Andrew.
thank you.
Great. Andrew, I didn't see any invoice come through, so we must be good for right now, I guess. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I don't think we're gonna charge you for coming up to the bell tower thing. So the only thing, if Jacob charged you for that, I'd probably tell him to. I wouldn't sign it. I wouldn't sign that one. But we'll see.
thank
Like I
you.
said, Paul's been out for like 2 weeks, so he might not have written anything. And Jacob sends
Okay.
stuff along and tracks all of our billing, but I don't know if he
Okay.
get anything put together.
great.
We can wait till next month. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Great. Well, thank you both very much, and we'll be in
Yeah.
touch. All right.
Okay, have a good evening.
Thank you. Thanks, Wade
Bye-bye.
and Andrew.
Oh, you're good with me too?
I guess if you're good with us, if
Yeah. Well, we
you
get.
don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't have to sign anything for you tonight because you can't vote on the.
Yeah, well, Lori texted me. I got a text. She was blocked in at a softball game or baseball game or some game anyway, and she was getting unblocked and going to get over here. So if she gets here, we'll vote on the other things anyway, so.
Okay. Yeah, just send it to me
Alright.
whenever, I'll sign it. And I sent you those other ones back last week. I forgot I hadn't sent.
Yes. No, that's fine, because we hadn't voted on them yet, because if you had gotten them when Dawn sent them or when they were originally sent, I didn't know that, so I was catching up. So we have 26 and 27 that are still open that we were gonna vote on tonight. If she doesn't get here, I'll send an email to everybody to vote by email to approve them, so.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, yeah, just send me along anything and I'll take a look at it, sign it. If you
Yeah,
vote, if not.
and yeah, I think you had signed those, so I think that was the package that you had sent that you had signed, so.
Yeah.
We'll get them approved and off, and Nickerson and O'Day had told me not to worry about the money anyway. When Dawn passed away, they said, don't worry. I'm like, well, no, I do need to worry, and you need to send them to me so I can figure out what we've got outstanding, so. But we're cool with that then. All right, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you,
Have
guys.
a great night, thanks.
too.
I'll send you the next date, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks. So anyway, the other thing that I saw Ed Spencer and asked him if he could help facilitate getting Dawn's notebooks. And so he did, he saw Ed, and Ed dropped off to Ed Spencer her binders, and Ed Spencer's gonna get them to me, so we'll have those. I just wanted to have somebody as a go-between, and I know that Ed Spencer's been involved with them, so he's gotten that taken care of for us, and anyway, I'll get those at some point. So back to my story about
Jay?
Jacob Harmon.
Okay.
So he was really interested about the school. He had attended the Bell Tower event. He thought that was wonderful, and he kept asking all kinds of questions of me. And then his mother came over later and started talking to me and said, you know, he's really interested in old buildings, and he's really excited about history and historic buildings and all of that. And it got me kind of thinking that we'd never had any students as members on committees. I know that the RSU, part of their board, they have student representatives. And I thought, well, what a great way to, you know, as we hopefully complete this building, have a student involved in their input. So I thought about having the seventh member be this kid, if he's interested and wants to do it. Now, he's very involved in 3 sports, so yes, he might, you know, not always be at the meetings, but I thought that as we over the summer, it might give him a chance to attend some meetings and if he's interested. So I was gonna reach out to his mom and see if he was interested in that. And I had spoken to Justin, and Justin thought it was a great idea, and, you know, whether he's not 18, but I think he can still vote as part of, I mean, what's your experience with working with kids on voting?
Well, if he's on a
If they're-
committee, he can vote. It's not like
Yeah.
it's an election.
Exactly,
Yeah, but he,
yeah,
it's, a lot of municipalities wish they could have that outlet for mostly elected official or planning boards.
yeah,
But I think it's a great start here.
yeah.
I like it.
I think that.
It's a very good start.
And then we could also have him mobilize, you know, some of those kids to attend our fundraiser with Gary Crocker, you know, and get the word out through him, because school will be back in session and that type of thing. So my first step was I was gonna reach out to his mom to see if he was interested in being part of the committee. And it, you know, like Steve said, it'd be great on his, you know, college applications and things too. And I
Is he a
think-
senior this year?
no, he's only gonna be a junior.
Oh, good, that's even better.
He's finishing his sophomore year, so I think in that family, they are just such wonderful, nice kids, good kids. His older brother's at what, just finished the.
Yeah, he's in
Naval Academy.
Mississippi
Yeah,
right now. His Air Corps,
oh, Air Corps, yeah,
Air National Guard.
yeah,
And he finished his boot camp in Texas And both Nate and Kelly
Kelly went
flew
to that.
down to see that.
Yeah.
And they sent pictures back, which is,
Yeah.
and I guess he's just thriving on all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Good.
And
Yeah.
now he's going to, in Mississippi, he's on the construction end of the Air Corps,
Yeah,
which is his, both his grandparents, his grandfathers were contractors.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's falling in, kind of in footsteps, and we asked him once, not medicine, and he said, absolutely not. Interested in this.
yeah, yeah. So I thought that that would be a nice little way to try to get some kids involved in, you know, civic duties and try to get that experience. And then, you know, in talking with Justin about it, if we are able to reform our rec committee, it might be another jumping off point to get some kids interested into, you know, restarting the rec committee when we have a new rec director. So, but I didn't want to just take it upon myself. I wanted to see what everybody else thought, if they thought it was a good
I
idea.
think it's a great idea. I do
If you
too.
could do that throughout all of them,
Oh.
planning board.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you from experiences that everybody knows that trying to find young people
Yeah.
who want to go into that career.
Yes,
is
exactly.
almost
Impossible.
non-existent.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a lot of good opportunities for kids who want to do that. and
Yeah.
Pay is pretty darn good at
Yeah.
this point. So,
Yeah, so I think that, you know, that's
good idea.
I will reach out to his mom and have a chat with her and see if they're interested, and then, you know, we'll be able to work on that process as well, so, the since we can't vote on anything until Lori shows up, the other thing I wanted to go over was, if we're doing the raffles as part of the, fundraising for that night and getting some raffle items. I've sent requests to the major, you know, New England sports teams, because they only give like signed memorabilia. They don't give tickets or anything like that, but they do signed memorabilia. And so I'm hoping that we'll get some of those things. I've reached out to my friend that owns Dave's Appliance to see if they'll do some sort of like grill package or something like that. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. The Mulcahy's, their daughter works for the theater where the Blue Man Group performs in Boston.
Yeah.
And so they're finding out from their daughter about getting Blue Man Group tickets that we'd have as a raffle prize. I was going to ask Lori to reach out to Springbrook and see if they'd do like a golf package.
Yeah, they will.
Since she,
They did one for RCAM,
yeah,
and you might reach out to Highland.
Highland
Highland
Terrace.
gave a heck
Oh,
of a-
really? Okay,
Wow.
so,
and Ace Hardware,
oh, yeah,
they might do a
Yeah.
grill raffle.
yeah,
So
yeah, I'll go bother Peter Gambino since he works up there. And that's how I got the sand buckets for age friendly too, so, so I thought I'd mimic the pricing that the, other people in town have used for their raffles. So they are $5 each or 6 for 20. Does that make sense for the raffle tickets?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think
I
so.
would mimic what other people have used as their fundraising numbers, yes. So, I thought that would be, you know, keeping all the playing field level, that's what other people have used. And I'll have them, beforehand, I'll do a sheet that shows what we have for raffle items, and we can ask our friends and neighbors, we don't have a 40-man contingent to go out there and sell, but we have asked that we can reach out to our friends and neighbors. And then I'll be at Applefest and be able to sell the tickets at Applefest, but have the drawing, after we sell tickets at the Friday night show. So whether we should pick them Saturday, you know, and then reach out to the winners. That's kind of my thinking is. The other question I wanted to find out is, I was gonna talk to Grateful Grains in Kushnock through Dennis, get those contacts and see if, I know that we can sell alcohol. There's a couple different ways to do it at shows with Dennis. But the way that he's been doing it lately is kind of a BYOB thing with a licensed bartender that you buy the beer and then it's sold, and we're not having to do the liquor license kind of things. The select board has to approve. But I didn't want to have this outlay of money that I'd be, you know, buying beer to resell. So I was gonna find out if whether or not Kushnock or Grateful Grains would donate things. So those are the kinds of things I need to talk with Dennis about, what the rules are for that. So I'm gonna have a sit down with Dennis as a marketing and logistics and planning and all of that, because Dennis does these all the time. So I texted Dennis and asked him for a time he and I could meet and start kind of planning ahead.
They had a little bar downstairs during one of the shows.
Yes, they do. And there's a couple different ways to do it where it has to, you know, a couple weeks ahead of time, fill out this license, and then it comes before the select board and we approve it. But there's another way that Dennis has started doing it where it's almost like a licensed bartender and it's, you know, a BYOB thing. It's a different type of way that it's being done. And so I've got to find out whether or not that's something we even want to try to do as part of that show.
We must be ready for the fair. I mean, to sell, raffle tickets.
No, I haven't had a response from the Red Sox or the Patriots or the Bruins. So I haven't heard from them. I had asked for a date of the 1st of August to know whether or not they were gonna give. The only people I've heard a response back from was the Celtics and the Maine Celtics had said that they weren't gonna be able to give an item. But I have an in with the Maine Celtics because if you remember Frank Stetson, he is their announcer at their games in Portland for the Maine Celtics. So I was going to message Frank because
Do you think Cabin Masters would be somebody who would donate?
I don't know what they would donate.
They have a gift shop.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about the gift shop, whether or not they'd give something for